You judge a dog by the soul way. And you judge a boy by the things way. But who I go put them money at stake? Fi make a little boy dream come true. Yeah, the little boy future in a danger. Him have to fight, make a plan. Success no know nobody as a stranger. So design your life while you can. Yeah, your thoughts are the motivator. Keep them clean, make them pure. No wait till later, do it now.
All right, so today we're diving deep into some pretty heavy stuff. We're going to be looking at the challenges young people in Jamaica are facing, and then shifting gears a bit to talk about the situation in Haiti.
And what we're using for this deep dive is pretty interesting. We've got this popular YouTuber, Sir P, who gives a really honest look at what life is like for Jamaican youth, and then some news reports about the crisis in Haiti.
Yeah, and what's kind of wild is that both these stories, they seem totally different, but they actually touch on some similar themes.
Like what?
Well, like feeling disillusioned,
Yeah.
and that deep desire for things to be better. It's like Sir P's videos. They resonate with so many young Jamaicans because he's not just some outsider looking in. He's right there with them, living it.
And he doesn't try to make things sound better than they are.
No, not at all. He talks about this feeling of hopelessness that's like everywhere. He even said it's like we're running on a treadmill that's going nowhere. I mean, that image, it really hits you, doesn't it?
It definitely paints a picture of just being stuck. Like you're putting in the effort, but you're not getting anywhere. And I think a lot of young people, not just in Jamaica, feel that way.
Exactly. And it's not just about not having jobs, right? It's this deeper feeling of like the system is failing them.
Yeah, they've been let down. And it's interesting because Sir P talks about how education, something that's supposed to help you have a better future, can actually make things feel worse. There's all this pressure to do well in school, but then a lot of times you graduate and you realize what you learned isn't actually what employers are looking for.
You're told, get good grades, go to college, but then it's like
you're given the wrong map.
Exactly. And then on top of that, there's all this pressure from like social media.
Oh, right. He talks about that too, like how everything looks so perfect and glamorous online.
Yeah, he says these flashy lifestyles we see online, they're like a mirage. They make us feel inadequate, like we're not enough.
It can be so hard to remember that what you see on social media isn't real life.
Totally. It's all so carefully curated. And I think that's where, being able to think critically about what you're seeing online is super important.
It's about realizing that those images are often manipulated and they're usually trying to sell you something, whether it's a product or a lifestyle.
And then there's the whole mental health piece, which Sir P doesn't shy away from at all. He's like, we need to stop pretending it's not an issue.
He's so right. It's like, especially for young men, there's this huge stigma around talking about mental health.
Which just makes things so much harder.
Because if you can't talk about it, you can't get help. And it can have really serious consequences. Sir P really emphasizes how important it is to have people you can lean on. Family, friends, community groups, he calls them.
Lifelines.
Right. When you feel like you're drowning, those are the things that can pull you back up.
It's interesting you mentioned lifelines because you'd think a country with international forces there to help would feel supported. But Haiti, it seems like the opposite is true.
Yeah, the situation there, it's really sad. You see how even with good intentions, things can go so wrong, especially when you try to fix something without really understanding it,
And we keep hearing about the gang violence. It's like it's actually getting worse, even with troops from Kenya and Caricom there.
Right.
What is Caricom, actually?
Oh, it stands for Caribbean Community. It's basically a group of Caribbean nations working together, on things like trade, but also like helping each other out in tough times.
So in Haiti, they're trying to do more than just send in troops.
Yeah, exactly. They're trying to get people talking to each other, and support the efforts to like keep things safe. And they're also providing aid like food and supplies.
So it's like a whole package, not just military.
Right. But even with all that, things are still really bad. I mean, did you hear about that massacre in Cherry Tree Lane? It's just awful.
Over 100 people killed, right?
Yeah. It's just a reminder of how dangerous things are there. Eyewitnesses, they were talking about these gang members, heavily armed, just shooting people, burning houses, just complete chaos.
And it's hard to wrap your head around the fact that this is happening even with, international forces supposedly there to keep the peace.
I know. It almost seems like, instead of bringing peace, the intervention is somehow making the violence worse.
It's like counterintuitive, right?
Well, I think it's important to remember that Haiti's history is really complicated. They've dealt with political instability, poverty, and outside forces interfering for, well, a long time.
So there's this deep mistrust of outsiders. Like, they're not really there to help.
Yeah, I mean, imagine how it must feel. These foreign troops show up, even if they have good intentions, it can still feel like an occupation, like a reminder of all the times they've been controlled by outsiders.
And speaking of troops, the Jamaican Defense Force and the Constabulary Force, they're part of the Caricom mission, right?
That's right.
I mean, that's got to be dangerous for them.
Oh, definitely. I mean, there's always the risk of getting hurt or killed, obviously, but there's also the risk of getting sucked into the violence. It can be really hard to get out once you're in.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Makes you wonder if sending troops is ever really the right answer.
It's tough to say. I mean, sometimes it might be necessary to stop something really bad from happening right away, but it's never a long-term solution. I think the focus always needs to be on fixing the root causes of the problem.
So in Haiti's case, that's what, like poverty?
Yeah, poverty, inequality, lack of access to basic things like healthcare and education, that kind of stuff.
So maybe instead of trying to fix Haiti, the international community should be focused on empowering Haitians to fix things themselves.
That's a really important point. I mean, the Haitian people, they're resilient, they're resourceful, they've been through so much, they have the knowledge and the will to build a better future for themselves, but they need genuine support, not solutions imposed from the outside.
So more like a partnership, not like a takeover.
Exactly. It all starts with listening to what Haitians themselves are saying. Understanding their perspective, respecting their choices. That's how you build trust and make real progress.
It's funny because a lot of what Sir P was saying about Jamaica, about needing better education, mental health support, strong communities, it seems like those things are relevant to Haiti too, just on a larger scale.
Yeah, that's true. In both situations, it comes down to investing in people. Believing in their potential, helping them to thrive, and giving them the tools to create change from within.
So it's like we started by looking at these very specific situations, what young people are dealing with in Jamaica and then the crisis in Haiti. But now it feels like we're kind of zooming out. We're seeing this bigger picture, all these interconnected issues, poverty, inequality, and, the lasting effects of colonialism. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah, it's complex. But I think seeing those connections is really important if we actually want to make things better.
But I bet a lot of people listening are thinking, okay, so what? What can I actually do about any of this? Because it's easy to feel helpless when you're faced with problems this big.
And that's why becoming aware is so important. Just by learning about these issues, becoming more informed, it helps us have better conversations and we can start making more conscious choices.
So knowledge is power.
I think so. I mean, there's so much information out there, books, articles, documentaries, even other podcasts. Take the time to learn. Challenge what you think you know. Listen to people who are directly affected by these issues. Hear their stories.
Okay, that's a good starting point. But then what? How do we actually turn that knowledge into action? Like, how do we make a difference?
Well, for one, there are amazing organizations doing work on the ground in Jamaica and Haiti. A lot of them are grassroots groups, working in education, community development, peace building. Even a small donation can help.
So we can actually make a difference, even from far away.
For sure. But don't forget about what you can do closer to home. Support those policies that promote, social justice and economic equity, and see if there are local organizations that are addressing these issues right in your community. Things like poverty and inequality. Get involved.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like change starts at home and then ripples outwards.
Exactly. It's all connected. Everything we've been talking about, the struggles of those young people in Jamaica, the crisis in Haiti, even the problems we see in our own neighborhoods. It's all part of the same story.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Well, I think we've covered a lot today. And I think the biggest takeaway for me is that, well, we're not powerless. We can all do something to make the world a better place. And it all starts with, understanding what's going on and then taking action, whether it's in our own communities or on a global scale.
I couldn't agree more. And I think the important thing to remember is that this is an ongoing process.
Right.
The fight for peace and justice, it never ends. So let's stay engaged. Let's keep learning and keep pushing for positive change. Every step we take, no matter how small, makes a difference.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it informative and that it gave you some things to think about. And remember, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep working towards a better world.